Hello everyone and welcome back to my kitchen. Valentine's Day is just around the corner and today I wanted to share with you a simple and delicious cake that's going to be loved by your loved ones. We will be making a Persian love cake. Now this cake is incredibly special. It's like an explosion of exotic, delicious flavors wrapped into one. It's a simple pistachio cake that's seasoned with ground cardamom, rosewater, and a touch of orange zest. It's great year-round, but especially lovely for Love Day. The cake batter is made with a touch of orange zest. Combine that with some sugar, egg, sour cream. We'll fold in some almond flour, some diced pistachios, add in that rosewater and the ground cardamom. And then once the cake is done baking, we'll finish it with a simple glaze with a touch of rosewater, a little bit more orange zest, and then the real icing on the top are real rose petals and more diced pistachios. Not only is this cake incredibly beautiful, it is also incredibly delicious. It's such an explosion of flavors all wrapped into one. I absolutely love this cake and I can't wait for you to try it. Head on down into that video description box for the recipe link. I'm going to have all the details online, including metric measurements. Meanwhile, let me show you how to make an incredible love cake. Start by preheating your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and then prep an 8-inch pan for baking. I like to place a little parchment paper on the bottom and then spray the sides with a non-stick baking spray. You can also use a 9-inch pan for this recipe. The cake will take just a couple minutes less to bake. Into a large mixing bowl, I'm going to add in 3/4 cups of white granulated sugar, and we're going to add in the zest of 1 large orange. We're going to mix the orange zest with the sugar to really activate those incredible orange flavors. And then use your fingers and blend the orange zest with the sugar. We'll need 2 large eggs at room temperature. Add the eggs to the sugar and orange zest. Pour in 1/4 cup of freshly squeezed orange juice, 1/2 cup of melted unsalted butter, 1/2 cup of sour cream or Greek yogurt, and we'll need 1½ teaspoons of rose water extract. If you have just regular rose water, I would add about a tablespoon and a half. The extract is much more concentrated. Mix this together for a couple minutes until the eggs are well beaten. Next up for our dry ingredients, we'll need 1 cup of all-purpose flour and we'll need 1 cup of almond flour. And this combination of the almond flour and the regular flour makes for a really light and delicate cake. We'll combine these 2 flours together. To the flours, we'll add in 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt, and 1½ teaspoons of ground cardamom. Mix all the dry ingredients together and then use a fine mesh sifter or strainer like I'm using today and sift the dry ingredients into the cake batter, and this will help ensure that you don't end up with any clumps of like almond flour or baking powder in your cake. Then mix the dry and wet ingredients together just until they're incorporated. And lastly, we'll need 1/3 cup of finely ground or finely diced pistachios. I finely ground mine in a food processor and use a spatula to fold those in. Pour the cake batter into your prepared pan. And if you are choosing to use a 9-inch pan, just be aware the cake is going to be a little bit thinner than the one I'm making today. And spread the batter evenly to the edges to ensure that you get a nice and level cake. This cake batter has the most exotic aroma. That combination of the ground cardamom with the rose water and orange zest is simply phenomenal. Bake the cake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 33 to 35 minutes until it's perfectly set in the middle and a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean. It should be light golden brown color on the top and a richer golden brown color on the sides. While this is baking, I'm going to show you how to make a really simple glaze to garnish the cake on the top. For our simple glaze, we'll need 1 cup of powdered sugar. We're going to add just a touch of orange zest, so maybe about a teaspoon. Add half a teaspoon to 1 teaspoon of rosewater extract. And this I kind of add to taste. I really like the flavor of this, so I like to add about a teaspoon. And we're going to incorporate our heavy cream, so pour in a couple tablespoons at a time and then combine that with the powdered sugar until the glaze reaches your desired consistency, and you want your glaze to be on the thicker side. And if you accidentally put in too much cream, you can always thicken the glaze back up by adding more powdered sugar. Once the cake is baked, you want to let it cool in the pan for a couple minutes, and then if you're using a spring form pan like I'm using today, you could just release the spring form and then carefully transfer the cake onto a wire rack to cool completely. And I recommend removing this parchment paper so that the bottom of the cake doesn't start to sweat and so that it cools down evenly. Let the cake cool down for at least 30 minutes before adding the icing, otherwise the icing can kind of melt off. Give it a really good mix. We're going to pour the icing right over the top of the cake. And you want to spread it out to the sides and kind of let it drizzle down. Over the top of the icing, we're going to sprinkle on some chopped pistachios. And then add some dried edible rose petals. I'm going to leave the link for this product down in the video description box below. I bought these on Amazon. And sprinkle those rose petals on top. Oh, this cake is so pretty. I love how simple it is. So beautiful. Add some of those rose petals onto the tray as well. I also purchased some rose buds that we can add on top. Let's slice into this stunning cake so you guys can see what it looks like on the inside. Check out this incredible slice. This cake has the most delicate and moist crumb. I love that it has lots of little pistachios on the inside, that incredible glaze on the top. This is one incredibly delicious cake. I am in love with the simplicity and the beauty of this Persian Love Cake. It's so easy to make, the single layer cake with just a simple icing on the top, but the aromas and the flavors are out of this world. Don't forget to head on down into the video description box for the recipe link. I'm going to have all the details up on my website. Meanwhile, it's time to enjoy some incredible cake. I love the texture. The cake itself is super moist, but because we added that almond flour, it's not too heavy. It has like this really delicate nature and a really light and delicate crumb. The combination of flavors here is so incredible. You have a light hint of that orange zest coming through, a touch of the rosewater, and then just the warming flavor of the ground cardamom all wrapped up into one. It is such an exotic flavor, and I love that the cake isn't too sweet. Adding a little bit of that icing on the top is the perfect touch of sweetness to finish the cake off. And I love having the pistachios here too. They add a little bit of crunchiness, add some texture to the delicate cake, and of course, lots of incredible flavor. If you are looking for something new and very special to make for this Valentine's Day, this is the cake. It is so easy to make and incredibly delicious with a cup of rose tea on the side. Thank you so much for watching my latest episode, and I'll see you next time with a new recipe.